That was Staring Up by Desmond and the Tutus. It is 27 minutes after 9, and that means, the international office is in studio with us today, and Africa University's day is slowly approaching, and the SU International Office is looking forward to hosting another exciting and eventful week coming up in November. So please do check out their social media platforms for the program. Today, however, we will be discussing the theme for this year, which is the Africa We Want, the role of young people. Here with me today we've got
Amanda Langa.
And
good day, I'm Carli from Wyk. I'm a newly elected SRC chairperson.
Welcome. Good morning. How are you guys doing?
I'm very well. I probably should have said what I do. I'm the recruitment and marketing officer for the Faculty of Science and also the assistant resident head of Metanoia.
Oh wow. That's cool. That's really cool. So, the question for today, I'm going to just head it off quickly. What were some of your first thoughts when you heard what the theme was?
I was just like, young people, of course. It's about time that we look at young people. Because at the end of the day, who's going to be living in the Africa we want? It's going to be the young people and the children. So it has to be a huge focus needs to be on the role of young people. So I'm just like super stoked, very excited about it.
Yes, and I can't agree more with Amanda, because I think the youth of Africa is the future, and the more emphasis and the more emphasis lay on the role and responsibility we as the youth of Africa has, I can just imagine how we can actually grow from there.
No, definitely. And as a student leader, what is your vision for Stellenbosch in Africa, and how do you see it?
I think that's a easy question, but also difficult because it's very complex and it's not something I could say in 1 minute. But I think my vision for Stellenbosch and even South Africa and Africa goes back to the preamble of the Constitution. Is South Africa belongs to those who live in it, and I can say that's what I want for Africa. We are all Africans and we can celebrate our diversity, and I think we need to unite and celebrate our diversity in order to move forward. And yes, that's what I want to say, the emphasis Africa belongs to those who live in it.
Yeah, I can definitely add on to what she said. But also on top of that, I think for me, it's more about young people being educated, wanting to educate themselves, because that's the only way you can make a change in any way. When you look at some of the greatest events that have been successful, for example, this might be a little bit controversial, but when you look at how successful colonialism was, or apartheid was successful, it was because it was educated people leading it. They sat down, were strategic, they planned and implemented that vision. So that is what we need to do. Sit down, plan, be strategic about whatever way we want to move forward, and then implement that.
Okay, and then why is it important that we construct our own narrative? As the youth of Africa, why do you think that it's important for us to construct our own story? Like you said, with education being important.
Exactly. I can almost add, it's exactly what Amanda said.
Yes.
It's before we even can educate, we need to know what we want for Africa.
Yeah.
And I think that is clear from South Africa's constitution, but also the AU. So I think it's very important that we decide as a youth, what is it what we want for our future? We don't want poverty, and we want an inclusive society, so I think that's what we need to actually plan from there on.
And like you said, you want an inclusive society. And the last question, adding on to that, what can each of you say is the role of young people in obtaining the Africa you want and the Africa that I would want?
Okay, just adding on to what she said, there's something beautiful about your own narrative. There's a certain ownership that comes with that. And because it's your story or your narrative, you're more likely to support it and do everything you can to make sure it's a success. So if your plan is to eradicate poverty or to make sure that people are educated, then you'll work very hard to make sure that happens. And also for me, in terms of the role that everybody can play, or my role as a young person, is to go out there and not think me, but we. What can we do together? There's some people who have book clubs and stuff like that, small things like that, where let's start with the small things and see how we can move forward from there. So I really think that's my role, of just coming out of myself and being, what can we do together, and what can I do for the other person? That's when you realize you're very successful, when you think, what can I do for you? Or what can I do, and not stop saying, what can you do for me?
I agree. It's about realizing we are all part of something bigger than ourselves. And if we're not going to take ownership of Africa as individuals, we won't be able to create the Africa we want. So I think definitely it's by taking the small step in order to achieve a big goal.
So it's definitely knowing that your story is important, but also realizing that others' stories are also important. So invest in one another, because if you invest in an individual, somehow together, by investing in individuals, you're kind of investing in Africa itself. So that is beautiful, absolutely, absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And you can also, if you enjoyed this conversation, which I did, thank you guys for being here. Please do follow SU International social media platforms for more information regarding Africa Day. Remember, the theme is the Africa we want, the role of young people. And that's the thing. I've got 2 young people in studio with me today saying things that, it's on their heart. This is important to them. And I feel that if it's important to them, kind of think about how Africa is important to you. Make this conversation important to you as well. So you can get into contact with Stellenbosch University International by checking out the website at www.sun.ac.za/international, as well as on Facebook, SU Globally, Twitter at SU Globally, and Instagram at SU_Globally. Thank you so much for being here today. I think that Africa Day, it's a no-brainer. Like the next song, No Brainer by DJ Carli.